Fourth grade, today we are going to start painting the papers that we're going to need for our collages. And you're going to base what you paint off of your drawing. And you might want to think about what you originally drew in your picture and sort of take one of these large papers and divide it into the sections you think you'll need. So for example, I'm going to need to paint papers for the plate, the donuts, and the icing, and especially if I want two different flavors of donuts or two different colors of icing, and all the different parts of my cup. So when I'm dividing this paper into sections, I do need to sort of plan out how much of each color I might need. And it might be as simple as dividing this paper into fourths. You might make one large section and 2 or 3 smaller sections if you don't need much of one color. And a great way to do that is just by folding your paper. So I'm going to start by folding my paper in half and making myself a pencil line there. I am going to go ahead and fold it the other way because I don't believe I need a whole half of a paper for any one color. Now, one great thing to do, and you can paint over this, might be to sort of label really small, really tiny writing of what exactly you're painting there so you don't forget anything. So here I might do chocolate, and here I might do vanilla. And I'm going to maybe add sprinkles, chocolate with sprinkles and vanilla with sprinkles. And then over here on this side of the paper, let's see, this section here might be the plate. And this section here, I think I might divide it into 2 smaller pieces. And use this for the straw on my cup. And this will be the little label on my cup, or it could be the lid. So I'll put label/lid. Now I'm going to paint another piece of paper because these few things don't include all of the different colors and pieces I'm going to make, but you can paint 2 entire pieces of paper if you need to. So I'm going to start with these and then work my way around. So our stations are divided into tempera paints and watercolor paints, and then also cool colors, warm colors, and neutrals. So I'm going to start with painting these 2 sections with the base color that I need. So I might start here by painting my chocolate. And there are black and white paints in here as well. So if I wanted to make this chocolate, this brown, lighter or darker, I most certainly could. And I'm not worried about painting anything specific here. I'm not actually painting a donut. I'm just creating the color and the texture that I need. Always going to take care to wash my brush before I switch colors. Down here, I'm using this section to make the vanilla icing for my donut. So I'm going to start with a bunch of white. But I'm going to add just a teensy-weensy bit of gold to make it have more of a vanilla coloring, which can have a little bit of yellow in it. And you may not be able to do all of the painting for one section at one station. I'm going to add sprinkles to these sections, but I'm going to do that obviously at another station because we don't have anything but neutral colors here. Now I also need to think about what color I want my plate straw and the label for my cup to be. And I believe I'm going to make my plate gray. I'm just going to do a simple plate. Now, you could put patterns on any of your dishes, and same for your food too. If you need to have a section with patterns on it, you can certainly add those. And that can be something that you can draw on before you add watercolor or after we add tempera. So that's something I could do later. I could also use the handle of my brush if I wanted my plate to have like some kind of pattern on it. I can use the paint scrapers or the handle of my brush to just scrape away that freshly painted paint and kind of reveal the paper underneath, and then I can have a neat pattern there. You can also use our paint scrapers. These are great for things like noodles too, if you need to create texture for a food. You can also just draw them in later with oil pastels. That won't be something we do today, but it can be something you do while you're cutting and gluing. Now I'm going to move to a different station to do my straw lid and sprinkles. So now I'm at a watercolor station, and you want to be extra careful when you open the watercolor cups because the watercolor is very watery and will spill easily, and it can stain. So I'm going to start by painting the colors for my straw and my lid. And one thing you can do with oil pastel, if you're using watercolors, these are only going to be at the watercolor stations, is draw patterns into your section and then paint over it. I'm going to use this turquoise color for my lid. I'm going to open it really carefully, and I'm just going to leave the watercolor in the basket. I'm not going to set those on the table at all. I'm going to make sure I have a clean brush. And if I use plenty of water and spread this out, don't leave any big puddles, my oil pastel will show through. So now I have that stripy pattern that I can cut my straw out of. And I'm also going to paint the paper over here for the lid. And I think I'm going to use the same color, but I'm going to add a little bit of salt. And we want to be careful not to get the salt wet. So I want you guys to leave the lid on it unless you're actively using it. So I'm going to paint this section here. And again, I want it to be nice and wet, plenty of water, but I do not want stuff dripping. So I'm going to take a teeny tiny pinch of salt with 2 fingers, and I'm going to sprinkle that on there to create kind of a cool texture. And once I sprinkle the salt on, I can't paint on that anymore. I'm just going to let it dry, and it will take a few minutes to kind of do its thing. Now I've got my cool colored tempera paint, so I've moved to a new station, and I'm going to work on adding the sprinkles over here. I think these sections are finished. So at the tempera stations, we have toothbrushes for splattering. So if you're adding a texture like sprinkles or anything that you kind of need to be all over, we'll use the toothbrush. Now I only want to get a teeny bit of paint on the tip of my toothbrush. Too much is going to make a big mess. And I'm going to hold the toothbrush really close to the paper, super close. And I'm just going to use one finger to kind of flicker on some colors. Now, if you wash this toothbrush, which you will need to do if you switch colors, just kind of scrub it in there like you would a paintbrush, but then be extra sure to wipe up all the water, because if your toothbrush is wet when you splatter it, it gets really, really messy. So I'm going to use a couple different colors here to get I'm going to make kind of some rainbow sprinkles. So I'll use all the cool colors, and then I'll move to the warm color station to finish this off. So now I'm adding my last few warm colors, still using my toothbrush to splatter and making sure that I wash and clean up between colors. Now once I have all the colors I want on here, I am going to put this whole piece on the drying rack, and then I can start fresh on another piece of paper if I still have more things to make. So right now I know that I have my 2 different icings, and I have the paper for my straw and my lid, but I still need to, and my plate, but I still need to make paper for the cake part of my donuts and the base of my cup. So I'll probably make one more paper here.